So now we can move on and start actually modeling this character. To do so, I'm going to start with a box, just in the create panel, clicking box, and I'm not worrying about the size or where I'm placing it just now. So with that box created, I'm just going to right click and end the tool, use my select and move tool, and just center it out in the grid. If I just turn on the grid, you can see that's centered there. And I'm just going to jump to a front viewport, and with the box still selected, if you press Alt and X, you can get an X-ray view, which allows you to see through and see the image plane behind, which is what I'm needing right now. So I'm just going to place this relatively in the middle of the shark, and go into the modify panel. You notice that we can't actually do anything right now. We need to convert this to an editable poly so that we can actually edit faces and all of the points. So to do that, it's pretty simple. Just right click the box, go to convert to, and I'm going to convert this to an editable poly. So now you can see we get some options for vertex, edges, borders, polygons, and elements as well. And this is going to allow us just to quickly lay out this character and block him in. So just moving the vertex, I'm not going to worry about putting in any more loops for the moment. And I'm just going to move this guy up to the front of the nose area. Not worrying about getting to the tip just yet, because with just a cube we've got to be pretty basic with them. And I'm going to run this all the way down to where the tail would actually start from as well. So with that done, I'm just going to change to edges and grab the top and bottom edges, and if I right click that and I go to connect, you'll notice that we get a nice connection between, and if I jump back to perspective, you can see that that connects all the way around, which is really cool. So back to the front viewport as well, I'm just going to do the same again, grabbing the top and bottom at the front, right click connect, and at the back right click and connect. So I can now jump back to the vertex selection, and I can start pulling this around and making sure that it fits where I need it to. We need to be a little bit strategic about this at this point. Even though it's just a layout, I think it's pretty good to start thinking about loops and things like that in topology. So I'm going to grab this guy here, and I'm going to move him just to the back of the fin, and this one to the front of the fin, and this one here I'm going to put just above the start of the eye. And I'm going to try and do the same for the bottom as well. So let's pull this down, and this guy, let's put him at the start of the bottom fin, and this one here as well. So that looks okay. I think for a layout really quick, it's pretty basic but pretty good for what we need. So let's just take a look in perspective view. And obviously we don't really have you know, we've got the side view of the shark, but we don't really have a front view to see where everything is. So this is just going to be a guess, and what really I'm going to go with what I think will look pretty good. So I think I'm going to fan out from the back and make the front a lot thicker than the back is. So let's start grabbing some of these, and I'm just going to press my R key just to go into the scale mode, and I'm just going to scale on the Y. And let's remove the selection from that. I'm just going to keep removing the selection and just scaling out a little bit. And even at the front, I think we'll scale that just a little bit out. Or would it look better in? What do you think? Yeah, let's leave it in a little bit. Alright, cool. So it seems pretty straightforward so far. It's nice and easy. Let's get this thing cut in the center. So going back to the edge mode and just grabbing down here. And I'm just going to right click and go to connect. And what this is going to allow me to do is if I jump to my left viewport, and if I hit number 4, which is going to take me to the polygon selection over here, I can just grab this side and I can just delete it. I don't need to worry about both sides when I'm box modeling this thing, because he's going to be symmetrical, so I'm not worrying about it at all. So that works pretty nicely. So jumping back to the front viewport, let's start moving stuff around a little bit. So back to the vertex selection, and I'm just going to grab one. I'm not marquee selecting, so I don't select the back end as well. I'm just going to select the one that I can actually see, and I'm just going to move this down and in a little bit. Actually, I'm going to leave the tail. I think I'm going to leave the tail for now, and let's just do it here. Just going to move these down, and I'm just guessing this just to give it a bit of shape. Let's Let's move this one in a bit. This guy as well. Move this up just to where my sort of cut fin is on the concept that we have. And let's move back to perspective just to see what that looks like. I'm going to hit Alt and X just so I can see the model more clearly. And I think that actually looks okay. So back to a front viewport, Alt and X so that I can see through it. Back to my edge selection mode, and I'm just going to grab all of these middle sections here, right click and connect. And back to vertex. I can either press number 1 or I can go back across here. And let's move it up. And I'm going to move this guy in a bit. And this, I'm going to put this just at the beginning of the eye. I'm not going to worry about these two at the moment, and I'm not going to worry about this one. So back to my perspective viewport, Alt and X, just so I can see it. Let's see what's going on here. Okay. So I'm just going to start pulling some of these out just to give it a bit of shape. So as you can see, I'm really just eyeballing all of this stuff. I really want to enforce the fact that this can be done on any sort of model that you have, so you don't have to be following along with this modeling tutorial. Or you could be, but it could be on your own character as well. Doesn't matter what it is, really. Let's just make that a bit nicer out. Looks okay. Alright, so with that all done, I'm just going to click back on vertex, and that's going to go back to my actual just selecting objects rather than subselection. And in my modifier list, I'm going to scroll down to symmetry. Let's click that, and you can see already that this isn't on the right axis, so I need to flip this on Y, and that's what he looks like put together, which is okay. And let's right click just in here, and I'm going to collapse all. And what this is going to do is it's going to put this symmetry modifier back down to an editable poly, and this is going to become one object rather than just a symmetrical version of it. So let's just do that, and that looks pretty good. Alright, so now what we can do is we can start to block in the rest of this. So we definitely need the tail done, and we need the fins on the side and the top as well. So I'm just going to grab an edge. I'm going to grab this edge because I know that this is the one for this top dorsal fin here. And I'm going to right click. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to chamfer on this. And I'm just going to eyeball it. That looks okay. And I'm going to do the same with this edge here. And I'm going to control click this edge. And let's do the exact same thing. Good stuff. And with these ones at the back, I'm going to right click and just end that tool. And what I'm actually going to do is I think we can extrude. So let's go to the polygon selection. And I'm just going to right click and extrude this guy just a little bit. I'm going to do the same down here as well. Alright, so now we've got two separate sections that we can actually split out and make the tail. So jumping to the front viewport again for me. Let's just move this down. And I'm going to go to vertex selection, hit Alt and X as well, just so that I can see through it. Let's grab this guy here. And this one here as well. Alright. Let's move these around just to the edges, more to the edge of the fin. That's going to work quite nicely. Yep, cool. And what we can actually do as well is let's scale these down just on the y-axis so that it's thinning out. Awesome. And that'll do just for the tail, just as a block out. And what I'm going to do quickly is I'm just going to extrude out. So grabbing polygon, grabbing the top of this dorsal fin, right click and extrude just really easily, not really worrying about it. And I'm going to do the same for both of these as well. So let's just extrude out. So once again, just to make this easier, because I don't want to be modeling on two sides, I'm going to jump to a left viewport, and let's just grab everything that's here. Let's have a look at what's going on in this center section. So you can see that we're grabbing this full fin, and we don't actually want to delete all of it. So we'll have to go to an edge mode. Just grab the edges around the top of the fin, and I'm going to right click, and I'll just connect those, and then just jump to a vertex mode and connect these guys. So clicking these and going connect, and I'll do the same with the back as well. So control click, connect, and that should allow me from the left viewport to go back into the sub-object selection, and let's just have a look through. Grab this guy and let's delete. Alright, so now we've just got one section again, and we can quickly go back to a front viewport and place where we want these. So one up here. You'll notice that I'm not going to the edges of the fins on these, because we'll put another loop that runs down, and we'll bring those up in a minute. Same for this. Oh, I got one of the ones that make up the body, which I don't want. And this guy here as well. And last thing again, I'm just going to drop another symmetry modifier on this. Remember, it's Y, and we want it flipped. So I think this is pretty good for the layout. It's already looking a lot like our concept art in the background, and I think I'm pretty happy with where that is, just to leave it, and we can continue refining this in the next video.